YouTube and LinkedIn. All right, y'all, we're going ahead and get rocking and rolling. Hit record. Perfect. All right, y'all, look, I'm excited. Like, I'm beyond excited. So for some of you that are listening on the podcast, y'all don't know what my face looks like right now, but I'm so excited. Listen, if you want to put the personal touch, like the personal touch on your business, and yet you want us to be able to use the power of automation, this is a conversation that you cannot afford to miss. This is something I preach on, talk about all the time, and it's something that I would love to stress more. But today's guest, today's person I have on this show, we'll really be able to dive into this. So just make sure as y'all come in, if you're listening live to this, as you come in, tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, tell us what you do. And I want to know, my question of the day is, how do you put a personal touch in your business? And do you wish that it could be just a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, a little bit more effortless for you to put that personal touch that still makes people feel special, like you care, because you do care. And so you want your business to reflect that. So today's guest, right? Today's guest, and we were joking a little bit before we got on here, because I'm like, I've heard of the platform, but Dave's like, yeah, I've nobody's, I guess, nobody knows me, man. And I think it's a shame. So look, David's last venture, Handwritten, provides scalable robotic solutions that write your notes in pen. Y'all, like, we're gonna talk about the technology. And look, it's used by businesses in all industries. Handwritten changes the way brands and people connect. Prior to Handwritten, David founded Sell It, a leading mobile marketing platform with clients including Abercrombie and Fitch, Walmart, and more. Sell It was sold in January of 2012, right? Both Handwritten and Sell It were on Inc. magazine's Inc. 500 list of fastest growing companies. David is a speaker on marketing technology, has been featured in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, and he's also a contributor to Inc. magazine. David, welcome to the show. Tell everybody hello.
Justin, thank you so much for having me here, man. This is really cool and a cool honor, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, a brief intro, but I don't think that really does justice to what it takes to build a platform. I had a guy that I'm actually have a conversation coming up soon, just about building like a website versus a platform, and you've built a platform.
You know, I wrote about that exact topic for Inc. magazine. I think if you Google my name and Inc. magazine, you'll see it, how to dominate an industry by building a platform.
Right.
And when I did it, and things have changed thanks to like new, honestly, it's a good thing, the way the web works now using like React or Angular or all these other front-end frameworks. But back when I created Handwritten, I said, let's make an iPhone app first, thinking very few people would use an iPhone app. But when I did that, and I wrote about all this in the article, when you do that, you force the creation of an API, because that iPhone app has to connect to an API to be able to do its job, versus creating a website. If you just go in, you create a website for your product, whatever, what happens is your programmers get lazy and they mix the concern. There's not a separation of concerns. So your front end is junked, like jumbled with your back end, and then it's hard to create other complementary products or services like Zapier integration or Integromat, Integrately, whatever, Salesforce.com, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign. All those types of integrations are much harder if you don't come at it from the get-go as I want to create an API and a platform and then build a website on top of it, an Android app, an iPhone app. So I said, let's do exactly that 7 years ago, and that's what we did.
Perfect. And I'm about to look that up.
Yeah, it's a good article. Easy article.
It's
like 800 words.
Read the article, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, because, and here's kind of the comparison I typically make to people, right? Just kind of oversimplify it. It's one thing to build a car, right? It's another thing to build the road in which the cars drive on.
Yeah.
One thing is essentially much more essential than the other. So I liken it to the websites with the platform thing where you can drive any car, but unless you really want to get somewhere, you have to build the road or the platform. And so what y'all have done here is amazing. Now, because I know what handwritten is. I can explain about so many words, but if you had to kind of put it in a nutshell in terms of what it is and what you really want it to mean to the marketplace, what would that be?
Well, I could give you two definitions. I'll give you the frou-frou definition, which is we make it easier to connect with customers in a personal way. And there's truth to that frou-frou BS, but it's marketing speak. What we really do is we make sending handwritten notes as easy as sending emails. Because back when I when I sold my last company, we were sending millions of text messages a day. And I wanted to do something special for my employees and my customers that had stuck with me over the years. And I'm not going to send them a text like, hey, thank you. I wanted to, what I noticed was when I'd walk into my employees' offices or my own office or my home, anytime there was a handwritten note, not only did I keep it or read it, but I kept it and I put it on display. So I wanted to send all my employees and my clients handwritten notes as a thank you. And I sat down with best of intention to, write all those notes myself, but quickly my hand cramped or my pen ran out of ink, or I lost, I was out of stationery, or I didn't have stamps, or I screwed up notes, and, all those different things. So I said, there has to be a better way. There has to be a way to automate this, or to make it scalable, and then even better, make it automatable, so that if you have a Shopify store and somebody makes a purchase, send them a handwritten note automatically. And that was really kind of the idea. So it's really making something as easy, handwritten notes as easy as sending an email.
Perfect. Now, why? So again, when I looked, so it's just kind of like explaining my experience, right? So when I checked it out, and I'm actually excited and surprised to find out that there's an actual handwriting robot.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is when I found, I was like, all right, so they're just taking some a specific font they've maybe custom created and are just imprinting them onto a card, right? Which isn't what it is, correct? Like it.
Right. And there's a lot of companies out there doing that. But I think, I don't know how old you are, but there's like brush script on the old Windows 3.1 or whatever, those old fonts, and those just don't pass muster. It just looks like laser printed text. What we do is we have 115 robots. We build them in-house. They're completely patent, we have the patent pending on them. But these robots are laser cut and 3D printed, and we design the circuitry and all that. And they hold a real ballpoint pen, and they write out your note in the handwriting style of your choice on a card of your choice. The reason we want it written in pen is, for one, it passes the smudge test. So if somebody's like, it's not handwritten, they lick their finger and they smudge it, it smudges. But it also follows there's something about a real note where it follows the contours of the bumpy paper. And we use really toothy paper, so it kind of follows that a little bit. And we also add additional variation with the handwriting itself, which you could laser print, and the variation of spacing and left margin and all that to make it look more realistic. But we just think there's a different look to actual handwritten or pen on ink, pen on paper. That's not to say down the road we might offer a cheaper version. If you want to go the cheapskate route, we'll do it for half the price and laser print it. We have a lot of competitors that laser print, but we think people appreciate the real deal. For instance, and I think, is it worth the risk to do it the other way? We worked with a major online travel agencies. They sent out handwritten notes to their 10,000 top customers. And they had several people say, I couldn't believe it when I received a handwritten note. I licked my finger and smudged it, and it smudged. And I was so,
So
honored that
pleased.
you took the time to do that. So, yeah, I mean, we have, because of the pandemic, people are so isolated. This stuff even means more. We have a online furniture brand that uses us, and I was on the phone with them dealing with an integration, direct API integration. And I said, how's it going? And they said they just had somebody call in crying because they were so happy that somebody took the time to send them a handwritten note. It meant so much to them. But I think that's the pandemic talking. People are extra isolated right now.
Right. I mean, but so you don't think any other companies have any other stories like that? Because I mean, so even for, so when I buy something, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it's not gonna bring me to tears, but so this year, went and my wife's watching. I think she's still watching.
She
So
says she's watching.
I went and got her coach back for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And so, I'm a guy, so it's not like I spent a ton of time in the coach. So it's first time actually walking in and purchasing something like on my own, right? From there. So, but the experience that I got, you walk in and they help you and I package everything, like it made a difference. Now I was going to bring me to tears, but it made a difference. And I can understand. It's like, okay, so I get why people like this thing. Like it gives you this feeling. It's hard to put your finger on. And so,
yeah, and the feeling people get from a handwritten note is the feeling of unautomatableness. They think people don't realize that these, unless they're savvy like you and in the industry and all that, but a lot of people don't realize these things can be automated. And because of that, what they're appreciating is the gift of time. So what I mean by that is if I were to send you an email, it could either be a copy and paste job, replace a few things, boom, done, out the door.
right.
Or I could use Persist IQ or Reply.io or one of these big platforms to send you the most personalized email you've ever received. Hey, Justin, it was so nice being on your show on this date. I enjoyed talking about that. The whole thing could be automated. And the thing is, everybody knows that can be automated. So when you get your 140th email of the day and you see that, you're like, if you even bother reading past the top 3 lines that appear on your Outlook or whatever, you're going to know it's automatable. But when you receive a handwritten note, what that implies is I sat down for 5 minutes. I took the time to think about you, distraction free, because if I start getting distractions, then I'm not going to be able to write a note. So I have to actually close my mind to just you, Justin, and sit down and write the note. The only other thing I know that can do that these days is, believe it or not, I mean, besides one-on-one conversation and stuff like that, is video email. Because if you use something like a Bonjoro,
Right.
That's me talking to you. It might not be face-to-face or in real time, but unless you have some deep fake AI creating that, which doesn't really exist yet, that looks natural, it's me talking to you, and that's me carving out some time to talk to you. And that's why those things are so important. It's not because you see a video clip in an email. I mean, anybody can put a video clip in an email. It's that the content is tailored specifically to you, and that's what's special about it. So I think that's kind of the closest thing out there to handwritten is really a Bonjoro.
I just discovered Bonjour, I think like a couple of weeks ago. Surprising.
Yeah, it's a cool platform.
It's really cool. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
And he'd be a Casey, their head of community, would be a great guest on your show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can make the intro.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Actually. Very much so. Because and I know earlier you said talking about affordability, right? And you're talking about maybe doing a laser printing to make it cheaper. But when I found your prices initially, and I thought about my use cases would typically be paying clients.
Yeah.
Right. So it would be someone who's invested 4 to 5 figures. $3 and some change is nothing to be able to make a client feel like we care about them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's always the thing. Like I think our service is priced appropriately or cheap, but people this day and age think everything should cost the same as something you rattle off at Kinko's or an email, which costs nothing. But I think the $3.25 or $3.75 if you want your logo on it, quantity
Right.
one, it's kind of hard to beat that. And then it's just like I was on another podcast. They're saying, is this good for marketing for outbound? And I think the main use case is really either responding to inbound leads or customer relationship management, because there you have a relationship or a warm open, and then you're just cultivating that. But to do outbound, like blast an entire zip
Yeah.
code,
No.
I think that's silly and expensive and not the right. This is not the right tool for that job. But if you're looking to just stay in touch with customers, I think this is a great way. And a lot of people are also like, what's the ROI? Well, Justin, to you, what you said, like it's $3. Like, what's the ROI there? It's
It's
like how
it's
much it should
it's huge.
it
I
should
mean,
just be, but it should just be say thank you, full stop. Like,
right.
don't say thank you, what's in it for me? If you do that, and I go on these podcasts and I talk about handwriting, I talk about handwritten, but then I also talk about gratitude. Like, we should be thankful that somebody's our client. There's alternatives to handwritten, there's alternatives to anything. And,
Mhm.
none of us are that special. You know what I mean? Like they can find somebody else to do it. So when somebody does choose you in the day and age of Google and Yelp and Amazon and Alibaba, where there's these G2, where these portals that people can find products and services, and they chose you, you should be grateful for that and not look for an ROI in that gratefulness. You should just be grateful. Like there's other benefits, there's personal benefits. There's studies that say that grateful people are happier. And then the rewards will come, but not if you're measuring it. Not if you're like, oh, I sent that person a $3 card on a $25,000 purchase. What's the ROI on that? Get over yourself. Just
Right.
spend the $3 and call it a day.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right. And I'm glad you like go that way because first off, as you say, there are a lot of people doing a lot of things. And so anybody is lucky to have anybody work with them for whatever reason.
exactly.
For for me, so like my clients, like I am beyond, especially when you're doing the thing that you want to do, right?
Yeah,
The gift, because it is a gift. It's not a right. It's not a promise. The gift to be able to actually do something that you enjoy doing and be compensated for that thing is not something everybody gets to like go and experience, right?
exactly.
And
Yeah,
so I truly do think someone should be grateful. And I mean, even if somebody wants to take it from a number standpoint, just to give, I guess, some context is, so from my standpoint as a customer, I'm at a coaching program that's high ticket, expensive, and they did everything from, they sent us books, and some of those books have been my favorite books. And so it's not, and so I was on a conversation about, kind of re-upping the program, talking to him. I was like, yeah, I mean, there is no, like, I have no question about what you all offer. It's just a matter of when we'll make the decision to do something else or work together again. It's not an if. And it's not, and it's because they do those little things of
yeah,
sending the thank yous and the notes and the books and just taking care of people. At the end of the day, if you take care of people, people tend to take care of you. And you look at
yeah.
it from a financial standpoint, but you also just look at it from just a typical spiritual,
You're right.
like you put out to the world is typically what you're gonna get back. And by
Yeah,
doing this and having a system and being able to connect this thing on handwritten, sending out cards and gifts, and we haven't talked about the fact that y'all sending out gift cards too,
yes, yeah,
right? Like the fact that you can give and over give, it gives you a chance to over deliver something. I think is amazing. I think it's truly is amazing. So that's what Like I actually do like what you all do.
That's good, man.
Um,
It's good. Yeah.
so because I want to make sure some folks get some little business stuff here too, because again, you have a marketing background, and here you are building out, and you're continuing to build out and grow this platform. How I'm always curious about the start, right? So, because a lot of folks they have
Yeah.
ideas, they have programs, they have something they want to start. I'm just curious, kind of how did you all get the marketing started with getting handwritten out there?
The marketing for Handwritten. It started very small. I started, it was a very small company. So I sold Sell It. And then pretty much the next day, I turned around and I started Handwritten. And pretty much the next day, I also had a lot of money from selling Sell It. So I wasn't as interest, or not a lot of money, but I had money for the
Right.
first time. So I wasn't as invested in Handwritten. And I also met a girl and was invested in her. So,
Okay.
Handwritten it's been a 7-year climb. But really, it's the typical stuff. It was Google ads, um, Facebook. We didn't do until much more recently.
Okay.
For the start, it was all Google ads and a lot of viral campaigns where I had kind of a following, not really, but some people on LinkedIn and stuff like that, where I push out coupons to try Handwritten. But it was very much Google ads related. And then we quickly got into content marketing
Okay.
and building up a continual stream of articles. We work with a company out of Florida called Copy Press.
Okay.
And they've helped us kind of tailor our articles to generate returns. And that's been a very big piece. Now we're kind of doing more of it on our own, but content marketing, SEO, the reason why we're number one when you search handwritten notes is because of that. And then the Google ads. And then recently, we've been doing a lot more Facebook on top of it. And the way I see it is Facebook is to generate interest, generate awareness of the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then Google is when somebody knows they want it, but they don't know who to deliver, they go to us that way. One of the biggest things, there's another and I'm not trying to steer people away from your podcast, but I was listening to a different one called the Inbound Success Marketing Podcast with Kathy Booth. And I was listening to her, and then I was a guest on her show, but they had somebody from HubSpot on there.
Okay.
And what he said is, you have to create pieces of real value to get people to your site and to convert them through a form or something like that. And what they created, believe it or not, at HubSpot was a signature generator for your email to make a nice looking signature, because it was a total trap. You'd go there, you'd create your email signature, which has your email address and your name and your title and your phone. They generate you a little email signature, and then they have all your data, right?
Of course.
But what we did with that is we really pumped up our samples request. So you can go to Handwritten, you can request samples. And when you do that, you have to provide all that same information, your phone number, your name, and all that. And then we mail you this awesome sample kit. And that samples request form is the #1 lead generator at Handwritten.
Okay.
And we get about 20 people a day requesting samples, which is 20 hot leads a day. We're trying to grow that more and more. So that's been a big push of our growth too. And then last year, in September during COVID, we launched our subscription offering, which was weird. We didn't know how to, I knew I wanted a subscription,
Okay.
but I didn't know how to do it to make it worthwhile for the customer and not lose my shorts as a brand. Because unlike an online subscription, we have real product that costs us money to mail. So
Yep.
we kind of came up with this weird hybrid model, and it's been doing okay. It's not huge, but it's a growing part of our business.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered anything you asked, but honestly,
No.
it came down to search engine optimization and Google ads.
Okay. Well, and I think think you answered it, but I think you also downplayed the power of the answer. What's up, Trevor? Folks are saying hello in the comments. Um, I think you downplayed the answer, right? Because most, at least now in my space, most folks are just Facebook ads, Facebook ads, Facebook ads. I post on Facebook a couple of times a day. I go on Instagram and post stuff, and that's like the end of it, right? Folks don't really understand the place that a Google ad has in the marketplace versus a Facebook ad, where one is a group of folks that don't even know that you exist, nor they are they really even currently thinking of the problem. So you have to kind of remind them of the problem, versus a platform where you're really just delivering people who are interested in solving that particular problem. So I'm assuming that when you were launching, you had folks that were searching how to send handwritten notes for business or something like that, which is a different person that has a certain intent. And so
I'm actually amazed right now how many leads, how many samples requests, those sample packets we get from Facebook. So I mean, it works. People do go through the process, and they're that interested just by boiling the ocean, as I call it. You know, these people have no interest, and then you show them an ad of a robot writing out a handwritten note, and then they request samples. But for us, Google, and actually retargeting through ad roll, which we'll probably return to now. I mean, but honestly, where on the web do you go? You just go to Facebook. So I mean, it's like ad roll. I don't know if you know what ad roll is, but basically, if you go to handwritten.com, then you go around the web, you'll see handwritten web ads everywhere. You currently do on Facebook. We retarget you and throw you ads on Facebook. But on other websites, we were using this ad roll platform for a while, and I didn't really measure the effectiveness of it. I could now, thanks to how our website's set up. But yeah, just SEO. And the cool thing about SEO, search engine optimization, not search engine marketing, is when you invest in SEO, you're investing in an asset. When you invest in SEM, it's a business expense. So what I mean by that is every dollar you put into SEO makes your website appear higher up in the list, theoretically forever, right?
Right.
Versus SEM, they click it, it's gone. So by making that investment in SEO, you're not really spending, I mean, you are spending money, obviously, but it's really makes your website better and better and better and better every month versus just keeping up with the Joneses through SEM. So really, we've been pushing hard on SEO, and we do guest blog posts. We do a ton of content writing. One of the reasons I do podcasts is, I like being on the podcast, but I also like having a link to handwritten on that podcast. I mean, that's a huge thing for us. So thank you. Hopefully I'll get a link from you. And then, social, I think we could probably do better at social. We don't know what to pump out about writing. We don't want to annoy people to death on sending handwritten notes. And I think if we did do a lot of that, it would end up kind of getting monotonous and maybe going too consumer focused when we're really business focused. If we're to do social, it should really be more about customer outreach, customer acquisition, customer retention, not how to send a handwritten note to this customer, how to send a handwritten, it just gets kind of boring. The other thing that we haven't really done is LinkedIn ads because they're so damn expensive. So we've just stayed away from that.
How big is the team?
We're 35 people currently.
Okay. So
and 115 robots.
the robots are taking over, man. That's but I mean, so that's not a small team, but it's not humongous.
No, we're growing.
Either.
We are the biggest in the space doing this.
Right.
So there was a company maybe when you started looking called Bond. When I was closing up Sell It, I determined I wanted to do this, and I started researching, and then this company Bond was out there, and I was like, oh shoot, they beat us to the punch. But Bond was going after the super high end, and it was, as they say in Arizona, all hat, no cattle. Like they just had this huge marketing spend, but no technology to back it up. So in the end, they had 3D printers writing handwritten notes, but 3D printers don't have paper feeds.
Right.
So then every time a page needed to be moved, some guy would walk in and do it, which kind of
Oh,
defeats the
man.
whole purpose.
Oh,
So then we became the leaders, and we've really invested in the paper feeding technology, which is still, I was just having a conversation about it before this podcast. You know, there's always room for improvement in that. But now you'd enjoy this, Justin. And I post about this on our blog. In addition to the technology to write the notes, you know, it's very different to write 1,000 notes a day versus 10,000 notes a day. Because when you write 10,000 notes a day, you have to deal with all the quality assurance problems, making sure you get the right note in the right envelope. So we actually have computer vision, machine learning systems, like full-on AI, that takes a handwritten note, it compares it to what should have been written, and then it says, do those match up or not? And then based on that, it gets stuffed in an envelope. So, and it's able to do that in half a second. So instead of having somebody sitting there reading every note, comparing it to what it should be written, in half a second, I can have a more accurate answer than somebody who's been sitting there reading 10,000 notes a day.
Okay. That is good. Good. Now, what is next for you all? I mean, is that you can tell us, right? Outside of laser printing, are you all planning on doing anything else cool? Is there certain, I mean, with the AI pieces that, you know, is the market to the advance, and as there are more, I don't know how to explain, but at least for folks to get just more accessible AI tools that are out there these days, in any plans to incorporate more technology or make everything faster, or, you know, instead you're just going to focus on making 200 robots versus the 115?
Right. Yeah. No, well, to your point, we are adding another 100 robots to the platform, hopefully by the holidays, because it's crunch time around here during the holidays. In addition to that, we are building out a Shopify. So right now, our biggest integration is Zapier.
Right.
But we're building out a direct Shopify integration, and an active campaign integration. We spoke to that guy over there. I forget his name. I apologize. We integrate with that active campaign through Zapier, obviously, but they're trying to build out their own marketplace, and we want to support them in that. We're also on Integrately and Integromat. Have you looked at Integromat at all? It's kind of interesting.
I looked at it. I actually was messing around. So oddly enough, I'm also building a platform as well. I mean, it's not handwritten by any means. It's not that cool. So yeah, I was actually messing around with Integromat said last week. I was trying to make something work, and I opened it up, I checked it, and I like it and I dislike it at the same time. I don't know why.
It's it took me a while to find the use case, but we have some clients that really benefit from that. But to answer your question, so we're continuing our integration strategy through Shopify, ActiveCampaign, improvements to HubSpot. We currently integrate with HubSpot CRM, and Salesforce is always a continuing. We're always improving our Salesforce.com integration. So we have that. On the handwritten note side, and I'm a pretty transparent guy, so I'm happy to share, we are revamping our handwriting generation with artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're in the preliminary stages there, but what we do currently is I think we do a really good job, but it's not artificial intelligence. We have like 8 copies of every letter to create variation, and then we vary line height, starting position, size, all that, but it's not, fully organic. It looks good enough, but I, like you probably, I'm never satisfied. So we actually have the AI gentleman that generated our machine vision overlay system, now trying to build a model for generating the handwriting itself using machine learning. So that's coming. And then on a business side, two things. Number one is fulfillment. So we do it on a small scale. If you send us your book and you want us to send out that book with a handwritten note, we'll do that, or a shirt or something like that. But we're trying to grow that. And then we're also now starting to put our robots in fulfillment centers. So we're working with some leading third-party logistics providers and really kind of becoming their partner within their center. So that's a new growth strategy for us too.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to make sure I follow all these updates.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
These updates. With one more random question, and how much in terms of the handwriting algorithm, right? How much do you all discuss planned flaws?
Oh yeah.
Like how deep are those conversations about, hey, maybe we should have the mark here, or maybe a little too much of a heavy ink spot here, or maybe even consider scribbling something out? Like, do y'all have those type of conversations? That's what really is one of the things that I would think as I'm trying to develop something like this, right? Like how much of the designed flaws go into it.
Yeah, so we could probably do a better job. What we do is we have certain handwriting styles that are messier than others. So we have Messy Michael is very messy, and Fancy Jenna is not at all. Executive Adam is kind of a nice in between in that realm. What we've been focused on is not the flaws as it is the variation.
Okay.
And then I guess the flaws are really kind of inconsistency in left margin and inconsistency in line height, the height between lines. And we do randomize that. If we did have somebody recently that wanted a strike through on words, and what we do is we can add those to specific characters or specific fonts, or we could just create a signature. Like your signature could be totally organic, then we insert that in that location. So your quote unquote signature, which is basically just another glyph, can have all the strikeouts or whatever. But there we're talking kind of very XYZ, very Cartesian, versus in our new model, one of the factors will be messiness, like not make this character messy or that character messy, just overall messiness. And we'll be able to adjust that on a high level, which is going to be kind of nifty. It'll just you'll just say, I want it skewed, I want it messy, I want it professional, and then it will know what to do.
Okay. I was going to ask that. So if I order something, I can change it from a messy level of 5 to 6. Right. And that'll, because the idea is if I send a client 2 notes, right, and they look at it, it's like, oh, this is just as perfect as this one versus, oh, okay, I do see that this one has a little more variety. It's not as neat versus this one. Like that would, I would imagine would be cool. Also to creating that, again, just the extra touch that I think that this deserves. I think that y'all are really trying to put into this, but perfect. Look, again, y'all go check it out. The description. So if you're listening on the podcast, it'll be in the description. Facebook, and y'all just go to handwritten.com. If you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description as well. So y'all
with a Y for your listeners.
With handwritten with a Y.
Yeah.
So just I'm gonna go ahead and spell it out so y'all can hear it. It's handwritten.com. That is HANDWRY as in yellow TTEN.com. And y'all should go check out. It's a sample pack, right? So what comes exactly in the sample that they get?
Yeah, so you get a folder with all our pricing in it, so that's kind of useful. And then you get a sample of a flat card, a sample of a folded card full bleed. So if you come to us and you prepay for as little as 500 cards, you can have your own design full bleed, which means edge to edge print. You know, if you want a blue card with a gold logo in the middle, we can do that because that's a full bleed print. We run our own print shop here. So that's included. And then we also include a flat card customized, which is a non-full bleed card, which is available quantity 1. So if you just say, hey, you know, 3 times a year, I'm going to send handwritten notes, maybe 20 cards a time. I don't want to invest in that 500 cards, but I want something with my logo. You just go on our website, use the card customizer, you pop in your logo, you pop in a footer, pop in a back image. It will look great. It's not going to be edge to edge color, but it will look fantastic. And we include samples of, awesome examples. It will always be on a thick, toothy, nice piece of stationery. It'll come off the printer great, and it'll come in a nice envelope, nice thick envelope. So the end result, even for $375, is awesome. And so we'll include those samples. We'll also show you samples of the envelopes, and then we'll include a card, kind of a thin-ish card with like 20 of our handwriting styles on it. So if you want to see for yourself how all those look, you get a good look there. Regarding your question on messiness, we have like 25 handwriting styles available to you, but then we have like 200 styles that are unique to people, just Justin's handwriting style that only Justin uses. And I'm used to the 25 because I see those on the robots all the time. But when I see somebody's personal style on one of those machines, I'm freaking blown away. I mean, I see the robot writing it, and I cannot distinguish it from a handwritten note. It's crazy. And if anybody wants to see what our robots look like, that's all on YouTube.
That's technology is scary and amazing some days. It really is. And that by itself is his whole rabbit hole of a conversation for another episode. But I'm always impressed. So for me, I think I look at automation and robots and technology as a way to enhance our ability as regular human beings to be able to do the things that we've always dreamt of doing. Right? It's not an attempt to replace us. It's a way for us to just do more of what we were intended to do. And so that's why I love this, because I think it really is the expression of us being able to do more of what we were intended to do, which is to show gratitude, and which is to be able to put our own personal touch. And this allows us to express something to more people than we would have originally, with the same intent. So that's why I think this is amazing. All right. Look, David, I appreciate you being on. Any other last words you want to leave the folks with?
No, this has been awesome. I really appreciate, being on here. It's an honor to meet somebody that actually knows what we do. So that's cool. And if anybody wants to try it out, please check out handwritten.com. Actually, if you sign up and use discount code podcast, PODCAST, you'll get $5 in credit. And you can use that, to send yourself a card or send a family member a card. If you send somebody else a card, just don't say, hey, what did you think of that card? Could you tell it was written by a robot? Because they'll say, oh, yeah, of course I did. But if you send it to them and you say, what did you think of that card? They'll say, oh, wow, that was so thoughtful of you. I really appreciate it. And then you say, did you know it was written by a robot? And then they'll have to look at it and scrutinize it. So, that's a more realistic approach to saying if people can tell what it is.
Perfect. I'm going to do that, by the way, folks somebody who hasn't seen this yet. But look, Dave, first off, I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing what you do. I'm thankful that you're even doing what you do. So that's major. But again, anytime someone takes time out of their day or their schedule to be here, especially if you're running a company, to talk to us folks out in the world is greatly appreciated. So again, make sure you all go check them out at handwritten.com. Again, that's handwritten with a Y. Make sure you share this episode with a friend, a family member, and even your worst enemy, because they need thank you cards too. I appreciate you and all that you do. And as usual, treat each day as a building block to a better